On October 29, 2018, Flight 610 of Lion Air crashed shortly after takeoff from Java Sea, Indonesia. 189 people died. On March 10, 2019, Flight 302 of Ethiopian Airlines crashed shortly after takeoff from Bishoftu, Ethiopia. 157 people died. After its first flight in January 2016, and within an interval of 5 months in 2018 to 2019, Boeing's new 737 MAX model crashed twice, shocking the aviation world. The story begins when Boeing's main competitor, Airbus, launched the Airbus A320neo family on December 1, 2010. It's a more fuel-efficient single-aisle aircraft thanks to the new and improved Pratt & Whitney engines. The A320neo received wide public interest and many order commitments. Under fierce competition and tremendous financial pressure, Boeing announced the 737 MAX in August 2011, an iteration of the existing 737 model, but with larger and more efficient engines. Just like the A320neo, Boeing announced that the 737 MAX was so similar to its predecessor that pilots would need minimal additional training. The 737 is lower to the ground than the A320. This meant the A320 could accommodate larger engines under the wings, but the 737 cannot. To accommodate larger engines, Boeing engineers, without changing the aircraft, placed the engines higher on the wings. Because of this, the top parts of the engines are above the wings. This came not without its own problems. When the 737 MAX is in full thrust, like during takeoff, the nose tends to point too far upward, which could lead to a stall. Since the 737 MAX was marketed as an iteration of the 737, engineers had to come up with a solution to fix this deviation in operational behavior. Instead of re-engineering the plane, they installed a software that automatically pushes down the nose if the pilot flew the airplane at too high an angle. This is the Maneuvering Characteristics Augmentation System, or MCAS. However, the implementation of MCAS was never mentioned. In the Lion Air crash, the aircraft was flying with a faulty alpha vane, which is the instrument that sends information to MCAS. This faulty gauge gave both the pilots and MCAS unreliable airspeed and altitude readings. Shortly after takeoff, pilots realized the problem and decided to fly upwards with flaps retracted. However, the MCAS system, unknown to the pilots, started pitching down the aircraft because of the faulty readings. MCAS kept activating, although the pilots tried to deactivate. The aircraft crashed after 12 minutes. Even though the existence of the MCAS system was revealed after the first Lion Air crash, and guidance about the software has been shared by Boeing, the problem with the software remained unsolved, and the second crash could not have been prevented since it was the faulty valve that triggered the error in MCAS. In the second incident, the pilots were able to disengage MCAS by disabling the electrical system. Without the electrical system, the aircraft became extremely difficult to handle manually. The system was eventually turned back on to pull up the aircraft, but MCAS pushed down the aircraft nose again, and the pilots did not have enough time to save the aircraft. The plane crashed 6 minutes after takeoff. After the second incident, the 737 MAX has been grounded. Boeing updated the software to make readings from 2 sensors and to not operate if the sensor readings do not match within a given margin, as well as to give pilots ability to override the system if needed. Boeing was initially confident that the MCAS problem was minor and could be fixed in a short amount of time, so the production of the 737 MAX aircraft did not stop, even when the model had been grounded worldwide. 9 months later, when Boeing finally decided to halt program, there were over 400 newly built aircrafts sitting in storage. Bank of America estimated that the costs associated with the groundings have exceeded $23 billion for Boeing. But Boeing is not the only company that is suffering from this incident. The entire aviation industry is hit with more than 680 suppliers and hundreds more subcontractors working to create the 737 MAX. Halted production lines mean job cuts. Spirit AeroSystems, a major supplier of Boeing, has cut 2,800 jobs, while GE has cut 13% of the workforce of its factory in Bromont, Quebec. A report from the House Transportation Committee blames the FAA for its oversight in not determining the MCAS system as a new function, which would have made the certification process much longer. The report also shows findings that FAA management overruled technical experts' judgment under Boeing's influence. Aircraft groundings are not rare in the aviation history. The famous supersonic jet, Concorde, was grounded for over a year after a fatal crash. Another Boeing aircraft, the 787 Dreamliner, was grounded for 4 months because of battery issues. We will certainly see the 737 MAX flying again, but when exactly? The FAA says the recertification is expected to be done in mid-2020. But although the 737 MAX will re-enter the sky one day, an important question remains. Are we going to learn from such man-made disasters, or will we repeat the same mistake again?